awesome.
Sweet. Right, Trav, we are live. Triple E, welcome, mate.
What up?
Good to get a little guest in. I want to do a strike better one as well, guys. So there'll be one with me and Morgan and Travis and Adam and Farmer as well. So that'll be a good one because then it'll be like I'll just be the moderator. They can tell me where they want it. I'll pick in the middle of where they've chosen it or where they've chosen. All right. That's it. Stand by, sort of turn you up a little bit. Make sure you're coming through at a good level. I think it's not too bad. Sound like you were just a little bit lagged, but it should be okay. All right, let's kick into it. So the way we're doing this is I've written best up there because for some reason it doesn't like God tier. So best characters in the game, we're going to sit up here. You should see maybe 10 up there, 10 to 12 at most. Meta, you should see maybe 15, 20 guys in meta. Viable should be where, well, viable and specialist should be where the majority of our characters should be sitting. And take my phone off vibrate, otherwise that's going to be really annoying. And then you've got not viable. Just not good characters are just going to be sitting in there. Like, what's the point, right? When you can take someone else in that slot. So without further ado, let's hook into it. So
yeah, sweet.
2-point Widow. We'll take it in turns. You can go first, mate.
I've had a few games with her lately, to be honest. I think she is probably equal second in the 2-pointers behind Okoye. She's probably on par with Toad. They fulfill similar roles in extract carriers. She has a couple of benefits, I think, in that she's the martial artist, like blanks for successes, and she has stealth. She also got the long move. So I would put her in viable.
Yep, I agree. I was sitting there going meta.
She's a bit more than a specialist, but she's not quite meta. Like she's not the 2-pointer
of choice. But Okoye will be sitting in best. So next Widow, 3-point Widow. She's a specialist, right? Like the only big thing that she has going for her is the massive Doom Prophecy play. So can't really comment much more on her there. If you're going to take her, you may as well just take the 2-pointer. The specialist Widow, she's a rapid fire. There's better rapid fire guys out there, Mystique and things like that. So she's not really going to be doing anything. Amazing Spider-Man, the 5-threat Spider-Man.
So he's interesting. I definitely think he's going to be meta. And hear me out why, because he's such a long mover on his large base.
Yeah, so fast.
He's just going to be an extract carrying machine. He also comes in with a handy leadership to change up Web Warriors if you're not quite happy with the Miles Morales Web Warrior leadership. So
yep. Plus his quip.
And his quip is phenomenal. His quip lets him reroll
targeted dice.
Yeah, so you can pick like the wilds out of the enemy attack dice throws and stuff like that. So yeah, he's up there. Yeah, I'm not going to say he's the best 5-threader in slot, but I'm definitely going to say he's better.
Yeah, for sure. Plus you can take things like take away the hit from rapid fire attacks and just stuff like that. You can really do some real large dice changing shenanigans. Plus he's really, really, really tanky. Next up we got Ancient One. I think she's going to be sitting in the viable. She's 4-threat. She hits like a truck. I've only played one game with her. She looked at a Medusa and dazed her with 2 attacks, so you can't be upset about that. She's Mystic. She's got Pierce. She's got her own teleport. We need to see some more games with her before I would put her in that meta slot, but she absolutely is a contender for one of those best in slot for 4 threats. Next up, Angela.
Best.
Yeah.
Best. Yeah, straight up.
So good.
There's not much we can say else other than just where she fits in.
She's crazy.
Best in slot extract carrier. She's just...
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's best. If there's heaps of videos out there, guys, if you want to look up why Angela is the best on Across the Bifrost, and I think we've talked about it on Strike Better and stuff. But
absolutely, there's a couple of little things of note that are like his new recent changes for Angela, where she can be better. Her Heaven's Wrath adds the target size to its attack roll, so things like Dormammu hitting the table, size 5, that's 5 extra dice, and she can double tap him if she rolls a couple of different results. So she will be very good at attacking Dormammu if that's what you're concerned about. So if you're looking for someone that can hunt him around, she's the one. Keep in mind that Dormammu does have a mid-turn like stagger. I say stagger like this. So you need to make sure that you use your strike first to teleport yourself into a backstop.
Yep.
Next up, Ant-Man.
You're right.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. You did answer. Ant-Man. He's a specialist. He's only really taken for some really specific things like hitting the home point in Criminal Syndicate. He's kind of interesting with Avengers and Mordo, where he now has like an 8 dice builder, which is kind of cool. So you can do like an 8 dice builder into a beam attack, and that will be fairly consistent. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. Go ahead.
He's probably kind of halfway between specialist and viable. It depends on the role you take him for.
Yeah.
I think he's going to see a lot of play, I believe, in Sam Spam. So Captain America Sam leadership for Avengers. That's probably one of the core 3.
Yeah.
But you have basically a lot of choice at 3.
For sure, yeah.
It's really the dealer's choice when it comes to that.
Yeah, 100%. You want to just double check your background stuff while I'm doing the next character traits. Just a little bit lagged. It comes through fine 90% of the time, then occasionally you just chop up. Next up is Mordo. This man, I don't know where he's going to sit. It depends how big he goes, right? Because there's a couple of affiliations that he can sit in where he is just going to be this really good enabler. He's a mini Thanos, adds dice. He has shenanigans where he can get pushed back onto points after he's been pushed by something. He's got some stuff, so he's going to sit in viable for now until the meta kind of settles a little bit.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for him, and Xavier Protocols has talked about it over and over, is that more dice is better than re-rolling dice.
Yes.
Because more dice enables you to spike with crits and all kinds of shenanigans.
Exactly. And, in Avengers, in things like Avengers, he's doing 1 power, add 2 dice. If you do that to their builders early game, it means you have heaps of power, you're flush with power. You could do big spender attacks, which means you might be able to put people in the ground earlier, turn into an attrition style squad, just everything like that. He just enables you to do more things. A little thing that I was showing the other day is Mordo in Avengers is paired particularly well next to Captain Marvel because she now has a 6 dice reroll all range 4 attack, which lets her start to do that continuous binary form because she starts to get flush with power. So that's also really interesting because then she can start to do 6 to 8 dice attacks with reroll all, so Marvel can turn into a bit of a artillery cannon. Beast, Travis, where does Beast sit?
Here's a weird one. I'm probably going to say specialist. You probably just take him for your core affiliation for X-Men.
Yeah.
There might be a few places outside that splash in there, but
Inhumans as well.
Prime. Yeah, overall I think his prime place he slots in is like just basically fleshing out affiliation.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. He's got defensive rerolls, he's got a throw for relatively cheap, he's got some reposition shenanigans on his attacks, but overall he's probably just a filler piece.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way of describing him. The amount of energy attacks out there nowadays, he is so weak to energy attacks, only 2 defense, that often you're sitting there going, he's got 4 red, he's going to be a beast, he's going to be like a literal beast, he won't be able to die, and then they bring an energy attack onto your side of the board and he's dead in 2 attacks.
Yeah, or Okoye one-shots him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okoye just blitzes him. Next up, we got Black Bolt. Trav, you want to hit him as well?
Oh, you're the one who's got games in with him, mate.
Yeah, true. Black Bolt is weird. Like, he's definitely viable. He's a leader. He has a really good leadership ability. If you can get his builder attack with the added dice, if once you get enough power, you can do it every turn or every attack. He starts to really pump some damage out, and he does have quite a good spender in his Master Punch. I think his beam attack is a trap. It's too expensive, and it's only on his flip side, so don't really try to build around that. Yeah, he's just viable at best. I don't think he's meta. His characters around him are meta, but he's not.
I'd even go towards putting him in specialist.
Yeah.
As far as being viable goes, you're literally only taking him if you want his leadership ability.
Yeah, but that does make him viable because he's definitely not a specialist. There's better artillery platforms out there and there's better other things out there. He's definitely not viable, but I think viable is probably a good place for him. Do you want to do Black Dwarf?
Just put him straight in the D.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not good.
He sits in between a bunch of roles and then doesn't do any of them really well. So,
Exactly.
And then at 4th threat, it's really expensive. Like 4th threat characters are probably arguably the most competitive role in MCP. So if you're not doing anything well, then you're nowhere.
Exactly. You're dead in the water. Plus, you got characters like Luke Cage now, just do the same thing as him, but better. Yeah. You don't have that liability of having a size 4 person in your formation. So if they have someone that could throw him, he's 5 auto damage into all your characters, which you don't want.
Yep.
Black Panther. We're just going to put that bad boy up top. Your King T'Challa himself.
Yep. Put him over top, mate.
Yeah, although depending how this next meta pans out, with the amount of mystic attacks, he might get bumped down a little bit. Probably in the next video.
He's probably floating between best and meta. I'm not going to say he's the best 4th threat character. He's definitely probably up there in the top 2 or 3. But what he brings in leadership with Wakanda and tactics cards and stuff.
Yeah, Wakanda forever.
There's a lot of stuff that Panther brings for you, and yeah, he is probably the benchmark for 4th threat characters.
Absolutely, 100%. He's just an absolute demon. And even then, in the off chance that you have Panther and you do come up against a team that is not flushed with these new mystic attacks, he's basically unkillable. It relies on you to roll bad, not your opponent to roll well.
Exactly.
Next up is Blade. I'm actually going to put this guy in meta.
Yeah, I agree.
His Midnight Suns... Yeah, exactly. Like, his Midnight Suns leadership is a once per turn... reposition yourself within 1, which I found to be really, really useful at doing some shenanigans where you can pop out, attack, and jump back onto an objective or anything like that, or just reposition and double tap someone. His strike or his builder is a Mystic Pierce with an auto bleed, and then his spender is, if they're bleeding, it's Mystic and it rerolls all. So he's just got so many synergies. If they're bleeding, he heals and gains extra power at the end of his turn. His defensive mod, I would put out there to you all, that is probably the best defensive tech in the game. Apart from like Martial Artist and like even Amazing Spider-Man is up there with Blade. At least, Amazing Spider-Man just gets it, but Blade is insane because you can pay for his rerolls after you see your rolls. So you can see the attack roll, and then if you're Loki, you pay at that point. But Blade is see the attack roll, see your roll, and then decide for physical and mystic if you want to do any rerolls. And you can reroll skulls as well. And it's reroll all dice.
And also, you get to like the attacker rolls, and then they got to pay for all their like Modoks and Wakanda abilities and Shuris and stuff. So you get to see how much the attacker's investing in their roll.
Yep.
So if they roll and go, no, I'm just going to leave it. And then you get to roll and go, well, you know what, you left it, so I'm going to pay and I'll dodge everything. Or
exactly.
So he's up there.
He's going to be very good.
He's out as well. I think he's out next week or 2.
Next week, apparently worldwide, so we'll see how that goes down here, because you know how it goes for us. I've not played a single game with this character, so I'm going to let you hit it. Bob.
Bible.
Yeah.
Any 2-threat in affiliation.
Instantly viable.
Are usually going to be viable, pending what.
Yeah.
He has an enormous attack. He has an ability that he just can't be killed unless you play around him very carefully. Yeah. All round, Bob's really good. The threat he brings with his rocket. I'm really keen to see Bob in like a Dormammu kind of 2-3.
Yeah, where he's flush with power.
Flush with power, so he can start getting more rockets off. So, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be cool. Next up is someone that I'm just going to still put in D, although he possibly could sneak out of it from his showing in one of the previous TTS leagues, is Bullseye.
Yeah.
He's 3-threat. Oh, jeez, I haven't looked at this card for a long time. I think he's 3-threat. On paper, it sounds cool. Yeah, on paper it sounds cool, but it's just not good enough. He's good in a wide. The only time I've seen him to any kind of use that's good is in a like 6-wide criminal syndicate list where he now counts for affiliation, and you need to bring in more cheap characters to flush out the squad. So he's definitely like a specialist in that regard, but as a general rule of thumb, there's probably like 1 in 50 rosters will contain a Bullseye. Next up, Travis, Cable.
Yeah, he's weird.
I haven't played any games with him.
Yeah, he's probably a specialist. He brings the X-Force affiliation, but
it's not a good one.
Affiliations.
Yep.
At 5 threat, he doesn't really deal a lot of damage unless you roll exceptionally well. I'm not going to say he's not viable because he does bring some interesting team comp stuff in with his defensive bonuses for your team, but overall, he's going to fulfill a very niche role in your roster.
Exactly. Even X-Men, he's a 5 threat in affiliation, and X-Men will still probably look at other 5 threats over him.
Yeah.
You've played some games with him, but I'll take a stab in the dark here. Sam Spam. That's just going to go straight in meta, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it's very good.
Yeah.
The Sam leadership, when you read it, it doesn't inspire very much. Like, it's just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It is a very, very good leadership. I've played against a few Sam Spam lists, and the amount of times that you spend all this effort to throw somebody off an objective after they've activated, and then you daze somebody later in the turn and that person just walks back on the objective is very frustrating. So Sam Spam, definitely meta.
He's just an improved Captain America. He's got the push when he deals damage on his shield throw.
Auto power.
Has like a place and a throw inbuilt in it. Like, he's really good.
Yeah, he gains auto power. He's a good one. Like, Mordo fits in Sam Spam really well as a 3 threat because he can give them the damage spike they need to sometimes put people in the ground when they need to do it.
Yep.
Overall, really good. Now we get to Captain America. He actually will probably sit above. He's possibly a specialist, possibly a viable. I'm torn with him because his leadership is so good. It's so boring, but it's so good.
I'm going to put him, personally, I'll put him in specialist.
Yeah, I agree.
You're literally taking him
for the leadership.
His 2 power, like, spender attack, and his
bodyguard and leadership. That's it.
Not viable specialist. You're a specialist.
I'm a specialist, yeah, that's right. You're about 20 seconds behind me.
Sorry.
You're up. Next up, Carnage. This man is absolutely meta. Carnage in Spider Foes is devastating, especially when paired with Doom Prophecy. You know, when he can do 5 attacks in a turn with an all you've got Doom Prophecy, and he's got his what's that superpower where if he can just perform an attack, and if he dazes, or if he dazes somebody, he does an advance and performs an attack like an Angela, paint the town red or whatever it is, and then he full heals himself. So he's got that. All you've got is an extra 2 attacks. He's got a tactic card where he can pull somebody towards him and perform an attack. So Carnage, if you just like to have characters that are purely based around just massacring everything in front of him, he's the man.
He's up there.
Yeah, 5 defense dice, solid. You don't really care as much. I thought people would care more about his 1 energy and 1 mystic, but it's not. If they're spending time on using the energy and mystic attacks to hit him, then that's good for you because hopefully priority flips to you, and then you just open the next turn with a Doom Prophecy and blitz the whole team out of the way.
Yeah, I think he probably meta just because he's probably the Doom Prophecy target of choice.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
You can just, he's crazy.
Absolutely. Next up, we have got Cassandra Nova.
Probably specialists. I've only played 1 game against her. She was overall underwhelming.
Yep.
But she gets a special mention for her 1 power spender attack that can advance a target their movement speed.
Yeah, brutal.
You're going to get a lot of play out of that. That's probably her primary role, is just
exactly.
Attack. I don't think there's really anything else she does that really...
Is she 5 or 4 threat? I always forget. 5. Yeah, so she's an interesting one. The main comment about her is that she doesn't get enough power from a builder to enable her to start spamming that the advance attack. She'd be an interesting one to see paired with Dormammu, but I think her 5 threat will take away from that because 5 threats are very hard to pair with Dormammu, but being able to have an additional power every turn, so she starts with 2, so if you want to, you can just do double spender, double advance, it could be the control you need to just keep your team, to slow the enemy team down, so you can work on an attrition style focus for your game. But yeah, aside from that, specialist. Corvus, I'm just going to go ahead and bang this bad boy up top.
Yep.
The dude...
for anyone, Corvus alone is probably viable to meta, but when you add the Reality Stone to Corvus, he is best in slot for just removing bodies.
Yeah, so much damage, massive burst damage. It's not uncommon to see an all you've got Corvus / Proxima activation wipe 4 to 5 characters, just absolutely smash them. So, and because of the fact that he has the double activate with Proxima, often means that he can kill 2 to 3 characters and sometimes even still retain priority and then immediately remove them from the game. So really top tier Corvus players will work around that ability to daze as many characters as possible while maintaining priority, and then they'll remove those characters from the game, so you're just at a massive disadvantage.
Wasn't there someone that came in and found a way to activate him even more times in a turn?
Wouldn't shock me. It just would not shock me.
There's another tactics card combination paired with all you've got where you can... in Cabal, with removing the activated tick off him.
Yeah.
You can go in, activate, attack everyone, all you've got, attack even more people, and then you can use... what is it? Cosmic Invigoration, is it?
Yeah, that's the one.
And just remove his activated tick. And then you can still activate him again and possibly remove 2 more bodies.
Absolutely. Hey, too, Mickey, what's happening, brother? I'll be on tomorrow. I'm just doing this Marvel thing, and I've got work sadly today. So tomorrow for me, mate. Crossbones, this man, he is going to be putting in viable now, which he's actually now stepped up. He used to be specialist, but because of the sin combination and how good Criminal Syndicate is looking right now, he's 100% in the sit and viable. He is a character that a lot of people kind of just look at and go, ugh, whatever. But the fact that his 2 power spender at range 3 has a teleport on it means he can very easily just sit on objectives and hold down points. Yeah, exactly.
So
that too. Plus the sin combination as well means that quite often he actually can take a bit of an attrition path as well. So he's quite interesting.
Yep.
Crystal.
I'd say she's a specialist. You're probably just taking her in A-Force for special delivery with She-Hulk.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. She's the best one for that, aside from Angela.
Yeah, she's got some good damage she can apply with, 2 to 3 attacks a turn and long move, but overall she's just basically... the best part of her is she has flight and she can special deliver She-Hulk.
That's right.
A-Force. She's also got Inhumans as an affiliation, but yeah, you probably don't often take her in Inhumans.
Exactly. I mean, she gets an inbuilt reroll, which is nice. So she is definitely not sitting in this D tier, but there's not many reasons you take Crystal over a few other choices. Cyclops, I know it's bad, but I'm thinking about putting him in D.
Yeah, put him down there, mate.
I've always found with Cyclops that all of his superpowers have awkward power generation numbers because he can't support the big spender he has for his superpower without and do his big spender attack. So like you don't really know why you're bringing him, and his leadership's just not that good. Like it's just Storm's leadership is 10 times better.
Yep.
Daredevil.
I'd say you put him in viable. It just comes down to dealer's choice between Venom and Daredevil for Web Warrior players. But Web Warriors probably being one of the better factions out there. Put him in viable because he's got a really good martial artist. Like Black Panther, but he gets rerolls with Web Warrior leadership. So.
Exactly, and it's always terrifying for me when you see a Web Warrior player that's brought both Black Panther and Daredevil combined with their other Web Warriors, and they've got defensive rerolls. It's a really, really tough nut to crack, so definitely viable for him.
Yep.
Deadpool. I'm actually sad about this, but I'm going to put him down here.
Yeah. I think you have to put him down there because he's got that 4 health on his
healthy side.
And I know when he's flipped, he always counts as healthy. But
and he has 6 health on the flip.
He's got the rerolls like in attack and defense, I believe. Like he's got 1 reroll, so he does have some really good stuff going for him. But I think overall, probably more people taking him as fanboys than they are as legitimate.
Exactly.
He's got some. I'm not going to say he's just waiting for a team comp to be built around him for power starvation, and because he can take power away from people. And
it's true. I'm half tempted to put him in specialist because he is obviously a criminal syndicate specialist. It's about the only place you'll ever see him played well, because he always counts as healthy. So I might slot him up to specialist and upgrade him. And he does have a couple of good things going for him, but as a whole,
getting Omega Red in affiliation, his ability to poison entire teams nearly, and then you add special, like Deadpool's a specialist on top, and start sniping individual members that have power left over. I think he's probably not bad there.
Yeah, okay. So we'll leave him in specialist then. Doc Ock, that bad boy's going straight into not viable. He's got a good throw, except for the fact that it's probably the most expensive throw in the game. I think it's 4 power or something like that. It's just ridiculous. I know he's got some shenanigans he does with crits. If your opponent rolls crits, you get power, but as a general rule of thumb, not good. He's not that great. He's obviously one of the original characters, so they were still learning the game as designers when they were building it. But Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Meta.
They give me a meta.
Yeah.
Just because of Defender's ability to use his leadership to choose the type of attack they're doing. So, free this Mystic Wave, Doctor Strange is a really good way to get around Web Warriors and Wakanda's ability to tank infinite amounts of physical and energy attacks coming their way. So, he's definitely up there. Plus, he's got the pentagrams of, I can't pronounce it, Falala.
Yeah, Falala is how I say it as well.
And it's some really interesting team comps. Some players like Patrick Dumford have used to win TTS leagues and stuff like that. So
yeah, true that. I'd be interested to see where he sits once all the Mystic stuff's out in the wild and we see kind of how the meta's shaping up. I would not be shocked if he slots down a tier to viable as his requirement for his changing of dice, changing of the type of attack becomes less and less. And then you're only just bringing in for pentagrams at that point. Next up, Domino. I think she sits in viable.
Yeah, I think
she's a great little 3-threat. She's got some cool stuff going for her. She does give out Mordo and Incinerate. She also has some dice manipulation ways of getting around characters like Angela and Medusa. So definitely strong.
I think she's not going to be a bad 3-threat in the Dormammu setups. Extra power, so she can use more probability manipulation and more Incinerates for Mordo to populate.
True, but Dormammu basically already covers all of that.
Yeah, true.
That's it. So speaking of Dormammu, he is next. I don't know whether to put him in meta or best. His leadership is possibly the best in the game.
I haven't played any games with him.
So I've played against him and I've played with him, and all 3 games I've played, I am shocked at how much power his team has. Like, they are just, his whole team just ends up completely flush with power. And if you build around that fact and you take characters that can utilize this and put your opponents on the ground, whether it's through attrition or control or whatever, it's pretty disgusting. My only concern with Dormammu is that his roster built around him is just going to be a who's who of who's in the best and the meta list. The best and the meta slots for this tier list. So I'm actually going to put him in best right now.
Yep.
Until proven otherwise, I just don't see it. Like, he's so much health. His leadership is just unbelievable. He's got good enough attacks, so you might need to think about bringing in somebody that can make his attacks better, like Shuri or something. And Shuri does also give you a bit of control to slow your enemy down to work that attrition. So something to look at there. But he's really good. Drax.
Yeah, he's a bit awkward. You're pretty much just taking him in Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation.
Yeah. Although with Blade hanging around, he does hang out bleeds.
Yeah, so he's probably not D. He's probably going to be a specialist, I'd say.
Yeah. You're bringing him for a very specific reason, whether it's affiliation or you need to hand out these auto bleeds. Yeah. He's very tanky, I'll give him that, and he does bring a decent throw. So for a while there, he did feature in the Wakanda wave at 15 threat. But he has been replaced since then. Ebony Moore.
Just put him in the D.
Yeah. I actually, to be honest, though, was re-looking at Ebony Moore yesterday because with Dormammu leadership, he gets 4 power a turn. So that gives him an auto spender attack, and his spender is really big. I think it's along the lines of 8 dice Mystic, and your opponent doesn't gain power for damage dealt.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's long range. I think it's 3 to 4 range as well. So I actually was re-looking at him going, And he also gets rid of... he has a really long throw and a... he throws it long as well. So he throws size 4, I think, and he throws it long. Like, he doesn't throw characters, but I actually am tempted to upgrade him to Specialist, to be honest, because I actually am tempted to rock him in a high threat, like 20 threat Dormammu squad.
I don't think so.
He's not going to be as good as Modok or anything like that.
Until you've done games with it and tested it.
Yeah, leave him down the bottom.
Sorry.
Enchantress. She will sit in best.
Yeah, she's best.
Huge amounts of power generation through her beam attack and her Asgardian. She can straight up steal objectives, and there's no limit on it. So if you can pay it 3 times, you pay it 3 times and take 3 hammers or whatever off somebody.
She starts with 2 power, which gives her reposition.
Yeah, if you put her in a Dormammu squad, she instantly starts with her objective steal. So if you're playing in a Hammers game or something like that, you bring her in.
Yeah, move up, steal the objective off the opponent when they can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's the par for 4 threat, I'd say.
Yeah, she's very, very, very good. Gamora.
Yeah, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. 4 threat characters are weird in Guardians, I think. Overall, she's a really good glass cannon, but
characters like Blade are just better, right? Same ranges, just better.
Yeah. So I'm actually leaning towards putting Gamora in non-viable.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I put her in special set and I was looking at going, I don't actually think she's that good. People that are playing her because they want to play Gamora, and that's about it. Like, you can take cheaper Guardians, get a lower affiliation bonus, and then bring in these big boys like Blade and Angela and Corvus to bring them up. Ghost Rider. My personal feelings is D, but that's from my previous game with him this week. So I'll let you cover this one.
I think Ghost Rider floats. I think there's interesting team comps that can be built around him, because he's got a tactics card that can bring him back from unhealthy to healthy at the sacrifice of a character on your team. He's also got interesting superpowers to punish opponents for rolling well, but I think you need to build around him with bodyguards and bodies that you're happy to sacrifice.
Yeah, I think he's specialist, because he's also okay in Avengers, where you get that multiple bodyguards around him and you can punish people for rolling crits.
Yeah.
It's pretty niche, but yeah, specialist. Ghost Spider. She's meta or best? I don't know which one to put her in. There's a lot of really good players using Ghost Spider, and
I think you have to hesitantly put her at best.
Yeah.
Because what she brings to a team, she can fit in any team comp, and she can do it well. She can. She's 3 threat, so it's
easy.
Relatively easy to build her in. I would say, I would say she's best with characters like Valkyrie probably slotting out of the best 3 threat into like meta.
I agree. Yeah, I actually put Ghost Rider in best, because under, like, let's say Dormammu, she starts with an instant web line pull, so she can pull somebody off an objective. Yeah. She can long move, attack long move off of her builder, so that's really strong. If she's placed for any reason, she can do 4 actions in a turn. So if you place her in some way, shape, or form, she can then
she can pay 1 power to move.
Yep.
Like be placed within 1, do an attack,
do a second attack, then do a free move,
and do that same attack. Gets an extra 3 attack dice on it. So she does like a 4 dice attack, then a 7 dice attack, and she gets 2 long moves plus a place. So
best.
She's really good.
Goblin Specialist. Yeah, only taking him for his leadership in Spider Foes, and a lot of Spider Foes lists I'm seeing right now end up going leaderless.
Gwen. One of her main things for people listening to this is that she has a lifesaver ability. So where that can be frustrating for other teams to play against is that they walk their character up within range to attack somebody, they declare them as the target of the attack, and then you can just drag your character away, and it's almost like they've wasted their actions to get there, so it's quite frustrating to play around Gwen.
Oh, you're still talking about Gwen? Okay, all good.
Yeah, Goblin's a Goblin. He's just there for the... If you want leadership for Spider Foes. I don't think you honestly need him for Spider Foes.
No.
I think their tactics card's good enough that you don't really need Goblin, but because Spider Foes are going to be good going forward, he's probably not a D. He's probably in a C.
Yep. Groot, same thing. Him and Rocket. Generally, you only bring in Groot if you bring in Rocket, so that basically makes Groot into a 5-threat almost. A pseudo 5-threat. He does have a very good tactics cards. There's some secures that you can play Groot on, and you can get this really nice big AoE heal, which is interesting. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely consider the tactic card that's paired with Groot. I think it's called We Are Groot. Really strong, but aside from that, he's just a specialist. Hawkeye, I'm going to put in viable.
Yeah, 100%. He fits really well into Sam Spam. He can choose his attack types between energy and physical. Hands out heaps of conditions. He's a really great target for Blind Obsession, which is a card that you can pick another character and add 2 attack dice and 2 defense dice when you're defending or attacking against that character.
Yep.
And you can basically use that as an assassination. Like when you want to KO that character, you Blind Obsession, get Hawkeye heaps of extra dice, ignore their cover, and then once that character's KO'd, then you can take Blind Obsession off. So he's really good.
He's also not a bad Doomed Prophecy target, since you can choose physical for your attacks. And then you've got a range 5 9 dice attack, which can just hand out heaps of conditions onto somebody. So that's also something to consider. Yep. If you're looking into those kinds of things with Sam Spam, within all you've got, that's 4 range 5 9 dice attacks that you can put into somebody. So it's kind of, that could be devastating. Hela, at this point, I'm going to put her in D.
Yeah, she's probably dropped off a lot. With the new Mystic meta coming out, there's probably better 4-threat Mystic options for Asgard. I think she's going to really fall away. The only benefit of Hela is that she has a bleed. Can help.
Auto bleed, yeah. She has an auto bleed, but again...
She's not really viable currently.
Yeah, and you're only taking her most of the time just to get affiliation, and generally you're going to go Loki anyway, so... I think she sits in a not viable.
Yep, I agree.
Hulk.
Yeah, and he's probably a specialist, not viable. Hulk's his problem is that he's just can't really get super flush with power.
Unless they beat him up.
Interesting extract plays that you can do with him, where you can scoop up heaps of cubes, and take damage, and get more power. But overall, he's
a bit meh.
I would say Hela's better than Hulk. Like if I had to choose between the two of them, but
Hulk does bring other stuff though. Bring Gamma Launch and other things, and he can fit into other stuff. Whereas Hela just brings Hela.
Yeah, fair.
Iron Fist, I've played heaps of games with him recently. He's 100% meta. His Heroes for Hire tactic card that he shares with Luke Cage is excellent. His range 3 martial artist is unbelievable. His spender attack is outstanding because you can put an activated tick on somebody, or if they have an activated tick, you can throw them and put a stagger on them instead. It's 9 dice energy, so there's a few characters in this best and meta area which are kind of weak to energy or weaker to energy, so he can blitz through a lot of damage. He also has a teleport on his range 3 kick, which is outstanding, and when you pair him with Dormammu's leadership, although he will take a damage at the start of the second turn from Dormammu's leadership, which gives Dormammu power, so you're not upset about that. You can put that activated tick on somebody at the start of the second turn, because he gains 3 power plus a kick plus 3 power plus a kick, and then we're at 8 already by the start of the second turn. So brutal.
Yep.
Iron Man, sadly, still possibly... Does he go in Sand Spam at all?
Not really. War Machine probably just does what Iron Man does better.
Exactly.
There's not really a lot that Iron Man brings, unfortunately. I really hope they bring out like a Hulkbuster or God Armor Iron Man that can come out and really make him shine as he does in the MCU in that, but overall, D.
Yeah. He could be better. I hope they redo him. I honestly, I'd love to see like a Hulkbuster Iron Man suit come out at 5-threat that's just awesome, or something along those lines, or a 4-threat version of him that is just the more upgraded version of his suit. I think that'd be really cool.
I think you could see some really some really good like plays around maybe like his later suits with like the nanites and stuff like that. That's part of his bloodstream where maybe he has like healing factor and invulnerable like Lizard.
Yep. That'd be excellent. The other thing that is only one little point of interest is that he can use that Ricochet Blast tactic card. You can do it off of Sam. So that's not too bad. And it does give that team a really large attack. So that's interesting. We'll see how it plays out. Jean Grey, I've done a couple of games with her. She's a specialist. She's possibly viable. She has some good things. I'm actually going to put her in viable. She has some good things going for her. She is a 5 threat, which is a little bit sad, but she does have good attacks and she does have great superpowers. So I need to see how the X-Men players that are better than me play her out. The few games I've had with her, I have had other 5 threats there as well. So it's been difficult to gauge how well she's done. She definitely needs a bodyguard, I will say that. The games I've had with her, she can take some damage out of nowhere. So definitely want to look at a bodyguard, a Koye sitting next to her or something.
I'm floating between viable and specialist.
Yep.
She's probably somewhere in the middle, but probably hesitantly will push her more towards viable because she has ways to stop you guys getting pushed up objectives.
Yeah. Plus, I think she has a thing that says if they have an activated tick, she can push the mess. So it's kind of counterintuitive for a 5 threat. Generally, a 5 threat's like one of the first activations you want, and that kind of forces her to go later in the turn. So kind of works against what it is. Killmonger. Specialist. Yeah,
he's not quite viable. He is very good. He is expensive in that he comes with a tactics card. Tax. It is a very good tactics card, but he really just comes in with either Criminal Syndicate if they need a 4 threat, or basically Wakanda if Wakanda wants to go 6 wide at higher threats, or if they want to pump up an awkward points range to turn a Koye or Shuri into him.
That's true.
Overall, the main thing with him is that he's an extra Wakandan for Wakanda Forever, and he's a laser beam.
Yeah, that's true. Kingpin, I'm going to put him in meta. Yep. His outstanding kit, he can take a minimum damage down to 0 if he wants to, I think, off his superpower. He's got to pay power for it. His big spender attack, Hail to the King, has no size on the throw, so he can throw Dormammu, which is devastating to a Dormammu team if you're on the receiving end of it. He's also good to pair with Dormammu, although he is very slow, so you need to have a delivery platform for him. But he can get to his Hail to the King really quick. 2 power turn for him is outstanding.
Yep.
He doesn't suffer collision damage with other people, which is something we haven't seen on anything else. So really strong.
His base builder's got some really good triggers off wilds, and that you can get, I think, a push and a stun in there with his headbutt. So
yeah. Also, his criminals.
His leadership is one of the best in the game, especially with the research station coming into play, which is a extract mission that acts like a secure. So it just really shores up a lot of weaknesses that Criminal Syndicate had. I'm actually putting Criminal Syndicate as being quite a high percentage of the TTS league next season. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Like you said, the research station alone brings their stocks up massively, because if the Criminal Syndicate player is forced to play extracts, because normally you choose secures against them, so you can try to minimise their leadership, they can then pivot to research station as long as they don't discard it, and still force you to play a secure.
A 33% chance of getting a secure in the extract slot, and they're moving last, so they'll pretty much just dominate that game. So
yep. Craven, I've done a few games with him. He's a specialist. He possibly will go into viable depending how he pans out, but his kit is really good. It's similar to Ghost Spider, but like a little bit more awkward, whereas hers is a lot more flexible because she can do her spender into a builder, whereas he has to do a builder into a builder in a certain order, otherwise you don't get the extra dice. He does have a superpower, though, which is one we haven't seen before, where you can place it on somebody, and it's until the end of their next activation. If they are moved or placed, they take a damage. And it doesn't matter if you daze that character, guys. Like, that stays there. And it's until the end of their next activation. So if you see a character on low health, you just pay it, put it on them, they're dead in the water, they can't move for 2 turns. Especially if they haven't... Well, 2 turns, I say that, like, you're assuming that you're putting it on them after they've activated, so they can't move, and then you can start doing stuff with them. So... Yep. Really strong.
Yep.
Lizard, I'm going to go ahead and put him in S.
Oh yeah, Blizzard's an exceptional 3-threat character. His overall builder is not great. It does have a push on it. It's range 3, which we've talked about on Strike Better a lot, and how much better that is than range 2. It's literally double the range. But he's got a really good throw, character on terrain, size 3.
Yep.
And his builder's quite easy to get. And I think he's got like 7 health.
7 health, yeah.
Takes less damage with like an invulnerable style thing, and he heals every turn. Like, yeah, Lizard is really up there.
Yes.
Really good extract mission piece. Not really a damage piece, but
well, his spender attack does a lot of damage. He also, if you look at his card, has Warcrawler. So when you look at Lizard's card, there's not actually much going on except for a word bingo of all the best abilities in the game.
yeah,
That's just how it is, right? Medium base, medium mover, size 3, which means most terrain's not going to slow him down. He's got Warcrawler just in case there was something that was going to slow him down, so he can just fly around the board. He's got a great spender attack. His builder is good enough. I think if he had a 5 dice builder, I think he'd be a bit much.
Yeah, size 3 takes him out of a lot of pushes and throws in the game as well.
Exactly. Lockjaw. I'm going to put him into meta.
No.
Yeah, he's actually come up in stops a lot. There's a lot of squads that are starting to pair him into it. He can teleport you back onto objectives after a teams have controlled you off it. In Dormammu's leadership, he's now a delivery platform for Dormammu. He can easily get his Bloodhound off with Dormammu as well. He's got a great throw. He's got a bleed.
I'm going to say viable. I don't think he's meta.
Why? You got to prove me wrong here.
Overall, him as a character, like his activations is just setting up for your other activations, and the fact that like you do your repositions with him and then your opponent gets a turn, and then they can then either push you, all the work you've done, they can just push you away again, or other things like that. All over, like he's a team comp you build around, but he's one of the better team comps.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use meta like a Blade or a Carnage that's just going to come in and just solo, just wipe the floor with something, but I don't think he's quite on that level.
True, but neither is Sam, but Sam's still up in meta.
Yeah, but Sam's also got a lot. His activation isn't going to be wasted, right? Sam brings a really good leadership. His attacks are really good. He's got a throw. He's got like pushes. He can, whereas Lockjaw has a throw. It's only terrain.
It's a good throw though. I'm going to put him in viable, but you mark my words. I almost can guarantee you he's going to slot in the meta over the next few weeks in the next league. He's going to feature in heaps of rosters. He gives you excellent anti-control. He gives you good control in that you can put extra attack dice down so that the rest of your team can just absolutely smash somebody. He's got insane power generation. When he slots in with Dormammu, he no longer needs to be a good boy. He just instantly gets a teleport for somebody to do it, so you don't need to build around having somebody next to him as well. All in all, really great piece. Next up, Loki. He is a specialist.
Yeah, you bring him in for specific stuff. I would say he comes in.
Nice words there, Traz.
No. He'll come in, for Black Order when they're playing against other Black Order squads. He'll come in, just in random pieces. If you're worried about squads getting online with power generation, you can slow them down.
Yeah, he's very good when you put a gem on him because you can then start to utilize him as an attrition piece with I'm a God every turn. Aside from that, he's just basically he's good. His flip side is particularly devastating with his AoE range 4 increase in power for superpowers, but then on the flip side it also stops crits being rolled in, which is really strong. All in all, solid specialist. Luke Cage is viable.
Yep.
Great kit. He's got a stagger on his builder. He's a great contender to slot in Sam Spam, and then he's a good target for Mordo to add dice to, because if he can get that stagger off, that's awesome. He has a Heroes for Hire tactic card. He takes 1 less damage per turn, or per time he takes damage, a minimum of 1. He's got good health. He's got a good spender. He has a throw, I'm pretty sure, off my memory. All in all, really excellent 3-pointer. Definitely viable for anyone's roster to think about putting him in, or putting him and Iron Fist in. Magneto. He's meta. He's not best. I will say that. Still there, Trav? Oh, you deafened. Okay, keep going. Magneto. Brotherhood, one of the best leaderships in the game. Heaps of power generation. He does insane amounts of damage, and the fact that he can throw more than once per turn means that he's always going to be up in this meta area because of how much terrain is used in Marvel. So really powerful. The Brothership, the Asteroid M, I think it's called, really strong for getting him into the fight, and his team can do it, laughably easy. All in all, really powerful for Magneto. He's definitely not going to sit in best, but really strong. Captain Marvel, I'm going to put her in Specialist, mainly because she's not viable because her builder attack has a reroll all. But she's kind of awkward with her superpowers, and a 3-power build, 5-power binary and a 3-power throw makes it awkward for her to dump power into something. With the inclusion of Mordo, definitely someone to look at. She can get really flush with power if she just gets a roll on at the start of the game, and Mordo can enable that kind of thing. So definitely someone to consider moving forward only in Avengers roster. You're not going to look at her for anything else, I don't think. Medusa, still one of the best four threats. Attrition based, 4 attacks a turn. If you get your flurry, you can push off each one of those attacks in any direction. You can't modify your attack dice against her. She can throw within 3 size 3 or less characters, so really strong. She can teleport herself and then teleport friends as well for 2 power each time, so really strong there. She's an excellent contender for the Mordo leadership because she can open the turn by teleporting... Sorry, not Mordo leadership, Dormammu leadership. She can open it up by teleporting Dormammu up, and then he's got his own teleport, so really powerful. All in all, really, really solid squad, and she fits well into pretty much any list that has a focus on killing things. She is a 4 threat that you're going to look at. Miles Morales is still meta. Really powerful leadership, really great kit. He can make you drop objectives, which is great. He's got a tactic card that generally just pairs with him called No Matter the Cost, where he can just do that for free. So there's quite a common play for Web Warriors where they play No Matter the Cost, make you drop all of your objectives off one carrier, and then scoop him up with Miles, and then he can medium move and do a range 3 teleport away. So really strong. Range 3 builder with the ability to go to 6. Gives you access to all webbed up as well, which is really strong. All in all, really solid piece. Modok. I still rate him as the best 5 threat, sadly. His kit's too good. He's a lot of health. He now has more characters floating about that can teleport him as a delivery platform. He can reroll his own dice. The reroll changes have slowed him down a little bit, but not really that much in the grand scheme of things. A good player still knows when they're going to hunt for rerolls, and they know their odds, so they'll work it. His wilds getting changed to blank protects him from an insane amount of abilities that are locked onto attacks as well. Pushes and staggers and heaps of stuff, just not affected by it whatsoever. So still best in slot for 5 threat. You're never upset like bringing a Modok onto your table. The only thing that Modok players ever complain about is that my Modok didn't wipe half the board in his all you've got activation. Moon Knight, he is absolutely viable. A little bit weak in defense like Valkyrie. He possibly could be meta, but he's got a little bit of randomness to him, so I just need to see how he pans out. So definitely thinking about, he potentially can move up to here, guys, so keep that in mind. His builder, the bow staff, has a reroll all. It has a... Jeez, what else is on it? This is all from memory. It's got some other stuff going for it. He's got a range 4 rapid fire, and he has stealth as well. So if you want to, he can sit on a point and sit at range 4 of somebody, attack twice to 4 times to 8 times if all you got, and they have to move if they want to attack him back. He's got some cool shenanigans with his activated ability. At the start of his turn, you roll a dice. He can either get an extra move for free, he can gain power, or he can add attack dice to his next attack. So really cool. All in all, excellent Mordo target as well, because he's got a standard reroll all for his builder, and he's going to be a staple in the Midnight Suns with Blade, especially since, from all accounts on my comments on my YouTube videos and from what people tell me, Iron Fist will probably be a Midnight Sun as well. So your core for Midnight Suns could be Blade, Moon Knight, Iron Fist at 10 threat. That is really powerful. Iron Fist brings the heroes higher if you want to try and save Moon Knight as well. So kind of all, that's some really nice synergies there for not really much. It's the four card investment and you're good to go. Mr. Sinistar, he is a specialist. You bring it in for one reason, and that's his tactic card that lets him bring a character on the board. Aside from that, he's got a Mystic Beam, which is kind of cool, but doesn't really no abilities to like get major rerolls on it. So all in all, specialist. Point of note, you literally cannot bring Dormammu on with his card. If you're going to think about doing that, I think it takes 7 turns to get the tokens together to summon Dormammu, so don't bother trying to do that, guys. But aside from that, really cool. The ability to bring in like a Valkyrie at turn 3, I think it is. So you've got an additional 3 threat on the table. It's one of the best 3 threats out there. Really powerful. So Mr. Sinistar, I'm waiting for somebody to break the game around his what he can do. So definitely one to look at. He's got a pretty good kit as well. You know, the ability to just discard tokens and take conditions off and take reduced damage from attacks and things like that is really cool. So he can easily, with some good pairing and somebody a lot smarter than me, be jumped into viable or meta or even best, to be honest. It's that open for Mr. Sinistar, but currently specialist.
I think you'll see him really start to shine. Criminal Syndicate, bring in extra 2 threat bodies.
Yeah, more bodies on the table, right?
Just the cheapest body you can get. You just chuck them on. They count as 2 unsecures, and yeah, you'll come in there.
Yeah, good to go. Mysterio, do you want to cover him?
Yeah, I think he's definitely viable. I think Spider-Foe's going to be quite popular next season. He's a 3 threat in a faction for Spider-Foes. I think he comes to some really good tactics cards as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, viable. Mystic Attacker as well, so it's quite popular.
Yeah, he's got advances on his attacks as well.
He's got damage dealing abilities if people move near him, so
yep.
Or a place near him, I think.
Yep. He can advance off his builder. He has a Grand Illusion card that he can play, so he doesn't need to be in any affiliation for it. That makes it so when people roll their defense dice or attack dice or whatever it is, I think it's defense dice, their crits don't count. They don't roll in additional dice and they're changed to skulls. So with Dormammu, that is just like play Grand Illusion, and for the entire turn of Dormammu's attacks, anyone that rolls crits is now skulls, and that's damage to Dormammu and more damage that you're taking. So that's kind of cool, and I'm waiting to see somebody do that. Mystique, Travis, you've had heaps of games with her, or I have not.
Yeah, she's great, man. I'd probably put her in the viable option because Magneto is so good, and she's probably the best in faction character for there. She also brings a second leadership for Brotherhood, and she's also got a really, really, really exceptional tactics card in Deception.
Yeah.
Other teams have to play around her. She also slots in really well in some of the other factions like Wakanda, because she's got 1 power every time she attacks. Red roll, she can really spike quite high.
Absolutely.
So yeah, she's good to go.
Bane Jane just said on Twitch, I've never considered Sinister and Syndicate. That's really interesting. Have a look at him. Yeah. Syndicate, a wide Syndicate list, you know, when you're looking at high threat 18 to 20, where you're looking at 6 wide Syndicate and you bring Sinister in and you can now make it 7 wide. You know, for Syndicate, they count as 2 bodies if they're healthy on a secure. You can just overload a secure so your opponent just cannot control anything. So, one to look at.
I think it's probably his best slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's in faction with Cabal, but overall, Enchantress probably fills that role in Cabal better.
Yep. Next one I'm looking at is Nebula. I'm going to slot her into viable. She is the most underrated 2 threat in the game. She does an insane amount of damage. It's just the simple fact that she can't contest objectives or hold anything that scares people off of her, but don't be scared because you activate her first and her control is in just the sheer amount of damage she can do to objective holders. So
just for Bane Chain, sorry. Nebula is an exceptional Syndicate Mr. Sinister piece to bring in. Because when she comes in, she has 3 power, and she can get a big attack straight away.
Yeah.
So she can come in, she can do a large energy attack. I think it's like 6 dice with full rerolls. So it's probably the equivalent of like a 7 or 8 dice attack from a 2-threader straight away. And yeah, she's probably targeting an objective holder or somebody on a point. So she's also one of the more exceptional Mr. Sinister cloning targets.
Absolutely. And it may sound strange because she doesn't benefit from the leadership for Criminal Syndicate, but the simple fact that she's going to hit the table and start dazing or KOing characters will work for you in the Syndicate list. So some late or even early, because it can happen from turn 2 onwards, I think, with her.
Bring her in and then remove her body. So you go +1, they go -1. So it's can be nasty.
Oh, yeah. Okoye, we all know, she sits in best, 2-threat. She's got Martial Artist, range 4 auto power builder. She can reroll attack and defense dice. Bodyguard. Spender's excellent. She's an insane target for Mordo in Sam Spam. If you happen to bring Okoye for some reason, give her a 6 dice range 4 attack, or make her a 7 dice builder spender attack with a flurry and a pierce. Really strong.
Yeah.
Mega red.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna. He's sort of floating between viable and meta. It's going to come down to team comp. I definitely think he's probably a better Criminal Syndicate team comp than he is in Cabal. Cabal's already got a lot of really good options, especially in its 4-thread setup. But his area denial ability, in that when he finishes his activation, all the enemies within 2 take a poison, or if they finish within 2 of him, they take a poison, is exceptional. Especially if you compare him with someone like Lockjaw, as we talked earlier, and you can fling him up the table on like an E-style map like Gamma and finish on their home objective. He counts as 2 in Syndicate, so they already need 2 people to contest against him. He can pull one of them off and poison the majority of the enemy team, so they start the next turn with either 0 or 1 power. He's really good.
Right, and it's that mythical poison, the one that you want to get, which is the one that does 0 damage. So you're not going to give them power so they lose power for future turns. You just lose power for future turns. And to top it off, you got secures like Terrigen Miss, which are going to be handing out poisons, which means he can now start to pay his ability really easily to just deal 2 auto damage to everyone with a poison around him. So
he can take 2 damage, but he can. If you've got 2 characters next to him that have a poison token and 2 health left, he can just pay 2 power and daze them. Yeah. And he's free to attack somebody else, and his auto attack or his builder attack has a heal on it. He can heal for 1 if he deals damage. So
yeah, so good.
He can take 2 days, however many characters or no characters, or just deal damage, and then he can heal it back.
Absolutely.
So he's very good.
Proxima meta. She's not the best in 3-threat, but she gets paired with Corvus. She makes Corvus / her into probably the 2 most attrition-focused characters in the game. Insane. Their activation, when they activate, every single pro player on this planet is shaking in their boots to see how bad it's going to go for you. Like, it's not a question of how well you can end up from this. It's just a question of, like, what will I have left?
You're just holding on for dear life and praying that you have something left.
Yep.
In turn.
Exactly. Punisher, he's going to go not viable. There's some talk that he might be viable with Mordo, but like Morgan said in my previous game the other day, he's just polishing a turd at that point, so why not polish a gold bar? Not good. Tactics cards are okay, but difficult to play. He's got an awesome spender attack, but it's damn near impossible to get him there and make it happen. I will say that when he's under Dormammu, he does get a free advance every turn because he gets 2 power and it costs 2. Well, it's not free, but he can do a small move extra every turn, so you can kind of get him into position to get out as many rapid fires as possible to make that aimed shot happen.
It pains me that he's there because
he's so cool.
Painted, he was probably my best miniature I painted, and he's the one probably never ever going to hit the table. So
yeah, exactly. He could be good. Put him with Dormammu. Like, if he's going to go anywhere, put him with Dormammu. He's actually okay there.
But again, like, you're talking in a 3-threat slot, and you've got 3-threaders like Gwen,
Lizard,
and Iron Fist, and Miles Morales, and There's heaps of guys that'll just do what he does better.
Exactly. Quicksilver is 100% viable. He's really fast. He gets a superpower which gives him a long move as well, so you can do a triple long move if you need it. He also has an interesting ability on his builder attack which lets him target somebody else, and you would actually be shocked at how often it goes off. So definitely one to look at. He's also got a cool tactic card that he can do with Scarlet Witch, which can remove an activated tick off of Magneto, which basically means your team's dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's also got a tactics card that can steal it. So.
Say again, you were just lagging.
He's also got a tactics card that can steal extracts.
Solid, yeah. Anything that can steal extracts is instantly viable most of the time. So, Red Skull, I mean, you're only taking him for the leadership and or the ability to teleport Modok around. So I'm just going to put him in Specialist, to be honest, which sucks for Red Skull, but realistically you're bringing him because he's Cabal and it gives you access to Cabal things.
Yep.
But aside from that, that's about it. It sucks for my Cabal players, but he could be viable. He floats between viable and Specialist. When they're in Specialist and viable, guys, like there's not much difference between a viable character and a Specialist character, right?
It's just the amount of rosters they can slot into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rocket is...
Viable is going to slot into a lot more rosters than someone who's a Specialist.
Exactly. That's all it means. Viable is seen more, but they're both as good as each other.
Speaking of Specialist, Rocket, straight in there, mate, next to Groot.
Exactly. Put them next to each other. Deadly Duos card is also another one of those tactics cards that's really underrated. The fact that Rocket can do 5 attacks in one turn is just mental without an all you've got. So, really rock solid.
He can probably somehow slot into a Sam Spam, maybe, but yeah.
My Thursday night sparring partner, Reith, has said that Rocket's actually a really great 2-threat to look at for Dormammu because he can then start smashing out those Hadron Enforcers, which is actually a really great spender attack.
Yeah.
More powerful Rocket means he can do more damage, and he's range 5 on everything he's got, and the Dormammu leadership gives him more power, which means you can look at booby traps and more spenders, so rock solid. Ronan, for a little bit, looked like a Specialist, but I'm actually going to put him down here as a not viable.
Yeah, he's just, again, in that 4-threat part of MCP, it's very competitive, and if you fulfill a role and don't do it exceptionally, you're probably not going to really compete that well. Or if there's other characters that do it better, you're probably just never going to get picked.
Exactly, and for a little bit he looked viable, but I find with him, for him to be really great, he's got an excellent spender attack, so you put the Power Stone on him, which instantly makes him a target, and he cannot stand up to the amount of punishment that could be put out by the other characters in this game. So he ends up getting dazed, and you feel bad because he's now a 5-threat that does nothing. So, not that great. Sabretooth.
Yeah. But again, he's X-Force, Brotherhood. He probably doesn't really have a good place in either. So I'm just going to say not viable.
Yeah, I agree.
With it, Sabretooth. He actually has exceptional attacks and stuff, but like Wolverine, no ability to mitigate probability and at the mercy of dice, and it can feel very frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. Scarlet Witch, I kind of want to put her in best.
Yeah, she's best to meta. She's somewhere between the two.
Yeah, I think she floats more on the best side.
With No More Mutants, her tactics card, she's probably in the best.
Yeah, No More Mutants, guys, if you haven't looked at it, I'll fill you in on the blanks. It is essentially an additional restricted card without being restricted. Because the things that it can do, it can be a brace for impact because you get No More Mutants a throw, which is essentially a brace.
For Magic, No More Mutants is a silence, but it's a super silence in that they can't use that ability again for the rest of the round.
Yeah, so, counterspell.
Like Magneto that have infinite throws, you can just count Billy on the first one and he's done.
That's it. Hey, you got that lag coming through again. Just a little bit choppy. But exactly what Trav was saying. Like, unbelievable tactic card paired with her. She hits like an absolute truck, and she is exceptional at dealing with Angela and Medusa, who are in this top tier roster here in the best slots. So under those pretenses, she sits in best. She-Hulk, Trav, what do you reckon?
I would say she's probably meta. I think people are sleeping on A-Force a little bit. A-Force are still very powerful to contend with as far as affiliations go. She's not a best in slot, but she's a bit more viable than I would say. So I would put her in meta.
Yep.
She
has some dice shenanigans that involves target size, though, doesn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. Well, you just chat about it just for a second while. I just want to double check that, because that can
size or something in one of her abilities, but she's got a good throw. She's got a body
auto slow.
She's got auto slow. Yeah, she's good to go.
That's it, and
she's got special delivery, so people can. I don't know what my neighbour's doing. Sorry, but
you're right. We can't hear it.
Yeah, good. So she's got special delivery, which is effectively drop off, which is one of the banned cards, but
yep.
It's just been reinvigorate or reborn in that you have to have a 6-threat character to pull it off. But yeah, she's good to go.
Yep, so her superior weight training, 3 power. During the next attack made by this character this turn, add dice to the attack roll equal to the size of the target. So moving forward, we're going to see a lot of Dormammu. That is pay 3 power, add 5 dice. So really, really, really good. Takes her to a 12 dice builder for 3 power, which means I guarantee you're going to get that 3 power back. And it takes her to like a 14 dice spender, I think it is. So just unbelievable. And, you know, more dice is a dice quality of its own, like we just spoke about. So definitely something to look at for her moving forward when if you think you're in a area with like a huge amount of players that are going to be looking at the new 8th threat. She's exceptional. She's also good against Wakanda and things like that because she does auto slow off her builder. So she's meta to best. I mean, she potentially is the best 6th threat character, but I think her and Magneto are basically the same. Shuri, 100% still sitting in best.
Yeah, she's the best in slot for
just long range.
Automatic push, power generation, probability manipulation for your team. She's exceptional.
Great spender.
With that, she's got a great spender. Yeah, she's good to go.
Exactly. She has access to Wakanda forever. Makes her even better. That's it. It's crazy that the meta area is now sitting smaller than our best. But like when I've written best, that's actually supposed to be God tier, guys, if you tuned in late, but for some reason this tierlist.com doesn't like the word God. So God tier basically just means these guys are insane, right? Like if you are looking at playing a control roster, you should be looking at Shuri every time. If you're looking at playing an attrition roster, you start looking at Modok, Scarlet Witch, Medusa, you know, those kinds of things. These are characters that you should be looking at if you're building this type of roster.
Yep. And
if you're building a Dormammu squad, you basically just take this whole top row and put it in as your roster. So, exactly.
I'll pay 2 threaders in there.
That's it. Next up is Sin. She is actually I want to say she's meta to viable.
She's meta, absolutely meta.
Yeah.
5 wide on sword mission at 14. She's exceptional at Gamma. Her ability to knock extracts out of people's hands and then grab them with like an angel and run away. Really good.
Yep.
Say Sin is up there. And also she gets a husband and wife combo with Crossbones. So you can pivot to attrition very quickly. She gets, if you use her with like say Dark Rain in Cabal, so you get rerolls against the target, bang in and all you've got, bang in a Crossbones activation at the end of it, like you're dropping the best part of, 8 to 10 attacks on the target to down somebody like a Dormammu or a She-Hulk in one round. So
yep,
exceptional. Again, Doom Prophecy with her because she's got a hit and run. So
that's it, and she auto generates her hit and run off of her rapid fire. We've got a comment here. Wakanda's sitting pretty well. These 3 characters sitting in this best slot is the reason that Wakanda sat as the kings, undisputed kings, for like the last year and a bit. Yeah, these 3 carried them so so far, it's 9 threat between them, so you can afford to bring in any of these other characters sitting next to us. Just outstanding. Now, moving forward, we've got a lot more Mystic. You might see them get moved into meta. But then if the Mystic dies off, they'll instantly get pushed back into best. So...
Yeah. There's a lot to say. I've talked about Wakanda, I think, on the Danger Room podcast. Wakanda took me to top cut for every season of the TTS League so far. I like Wakanda, the movies and stuff, so that's why I play them, because I enjoy them and like everything about them. But as far as characters go, like the best part about Wakanda is they target you, X happens, e.g. the push on Shuri, and then they get to roll dice. So it's always going to be best in tier. They've got really good probability manipulation, so they can pivot to attrition, pivot to control. It's not difficult for them to really do anything and everything. The only thing they had to be careful of was Mystic. So this is pre the Mystic meta coming out. So post Mystic meta, you might see them, like Jaren said, or Von said, dropping down to meta. But they're always going to be the boogeyman in the meta. If you're not ready for them and you're not packing Mystic into your roster and you rock up to a tournament day and the guy across from you or girl across from you drops Wakanda, you're going to have a bad day.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Geez, it's starting to take up a bit of space, isn't it? We'll have to zoom out a little bit now. Let's now look at standard Spider-Man.
Specialist.
Yeah, he's not D tier. I'll give him that. I'll give you that, Farmer. He is specialist. He's got a webline pull. He's a long mover with Warcrawler. He's got a few things going for him. He's got a decent spender.
Fighting for that threat slot against like Venom and Deadpool, but he does definitely fulfill a role in Web Warriors.
Exactly.
That you might not be able to fill. So he's definitely a specialist.
100%. Next up is Star-Lord.
D.
What did you say, C or D?
I think D. He's just not really viable. His chip is
the worst.
Worst in the game. He's not a bad 3-threader with like his full auto attack and stuff like that.
Yeah, you put a Power Stone on him, you can just pump that out. But yeah, just all in all,
4-threat, and then you're contending with Enchantress.
Exactly. And he doesn't have dice mods aside from discarding your tactics cards, which win you games. If it was just discard a used tactic card, like if they could reword that so that you use a tactic card and then you can use it for the leadership, that would beef him up a lot.
Yeah.
But the fact you have to discard your tactics cards, which are literal turn swingers and game winners, just not good. Storm, she's 100% meta. Her leadership's
better and viable, I'd say. She's definitely
the leadership alone, I think, brings her up.
Meta, the leadership,
Yeah, leadership alone brings her into meta. She's got great kit. She hands out shock. Shock's not very common. So she hands out shock off of her builder, which is great. She can add dice to her own attacks. She's a good one to look at for a couple of different situations. Her leadership is just a slightly better Midnight Suns, but also worse that you only get to do it once. So her leadership is basically a delivery platform for one of these people in this top, e.g. Corvus. We saw Sploosh do that, Corvus Proxima and X-Men Storm. So now your other characters become a delivery platform for them. So definitely something to look at. Aside from that, pretty meta.
Because like Medusa can use X-Men to fling herself forward, then she has her superpower that enables her to fling somebody else forward, so you can sort of...
Yep, and then she can pay that same superpower to fling herself forward off of the new person.
Yeah, and then she can attack 4 times, so...
Yeah,
she's... Yeah. So Storm is definitely, I think, meta.
Exactly. Looking at Taskmaster. Taskmaster is viable.
Yeah, I would say he floats.
He's almost meta. Like, he doesn't have a throw. If he had a throw...
He has a 2-power spender that can add physical dice, so his 2-power spender is almost trivial to get off once or twice a turn.
Yep.
He's got martial artist. He's got counterattacks, and his counterattack is better the more somebody attacks him.
So is his martial artist.
Exactly. So I would actually lean towards Tasky possibly being meta in that he is the best rogue agent you can get.
Yeah. I don't want to put him meta. He's almost meta. He is so close. He needs a throw. That's all he needs. A push, a throw, or something.
Where I think he goes into meta is that he fulfills his role the best out of any of the other rogue agents, right?
Yeah.
And that some affiliations that otherwise probably are lacking in good choices to beef out their affiliation, like someone like Inhumans or Criminal Syndicate or...
Well, he's in Criminal Syndicate affiliation. You don't even need to worry about that.
Guardians of the Galaxy. There's multiple affiliations that probably he comes in and can fulfill a role better than the choice they have open to affiliations. He's a good target for leaderships like A-Force, Dormammu, even Brotherhood, because they can feed him power, so you can just continually smash out his spender attack without having to have him attacked. His spender attack is 2 power for usually on average it's 7 to 8 dice. Guys like Carnage, it's 2 power for 9 dice. Like it's bonkers. It's so good. Yep.
Thanos. I think he's still meta. They just won the latest TTS league.
Yeah, I'll put him even towards best, as probably best in class for control.
For 9 threat.
Yeah.
Best in class at 9 threat. He's the only person in the class.
Yeah, 8 to 9 threat. He does do a lot of damage if he has to. He can control the absolute hell out of a squad. He's very tanky.
Yeah.
He's probably in that best slot, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that he can reposition, sometimes 5 people in a single turn is just insane, right? He feels, once he's up and running at that 8 to 9 threat area, he feels like an 8 to 9 threat. Dormammu sometimes doesn't feel like he is putting out the 8 threat that you've paid for him, but he's doing it in other ways. His attacks are very good. His defensive superpower is very good. But where he's getting his 8 threat is 100% in his leadership. His leadership is just disgusting. And Thanos' leadership is kind of meh. If you can keep him healthy, you might get some victory points. But if not, his injured side leadership is one of the worst in the game. It's take wounds to reroll dice. That's terrible.
The other thing that's good with Thanos is his ability to add attack dice.
That's right.
It's like Corvus.
Yeah, and it gets better with their injured as well.
Somebody like Okoye, if they're injured, they can just pay 2 power and have an 8 dice spear. So
9 dice spender with Pierce and Flurry. Disgust. Medusa can open with a 9 dice builder that will almost guaranteed get the Flurry. It's just great. All round great. Yeah. Thor. Now, Thor's an interesting one. He is viable to meta, but it's not for the reasons you think. He is an exceptional 5 threat at control.
Yeah.
The only game to date that I've seen where somebody didn't attack anyone was Morgan, and he did it with Asgardian, Enchantress, Thor, those kinds of characters, because Thor's range 5 hammer throw that just auto shocks, outstanding. He has an excellent throw, one of the best in the game. I think it's size 4 or less characters and buildings. He has flight. He has a good health pool. He has great defense. He also can dish out a stagger just for 3 power, charge stagger if you need that to happen. There's nothing worse than Thor catching your 5 threat Sculler Witch or something like those, and he stagger chains them until they're dead, so that your 5 threat only gets a single activation every time. His leadership is excellent. He can heal with his leadership, or he can remove conditions, and with the semi-condition heavy meta we're possibly heading into with some of these new characters, definitely one to look at. So sitting in meta. Toad, 100% meta.
Yeah.
You agree?
Really 2 threat.
Yeah.
With extra play and 5 health on his healthy side. He's got push, to incinerate. It's good to go.
Great. And he interacts from range 2 on objectives. Outstanding. So you can do some serious shenanigans with him. Ultron, still sitting down here.
Yeah, nothing's gone to improve Ultron's chances of really...
Sadly not.
...doing much.
Same reasons as last time. It's just 4 threat. Not good.
Yeah.
Valkyrie's going to drop down. I'm actually going to put her in meta.
Yeah, meta to best. She's probably the damage-dealing version of Lizard, is the tanky version of her.
Yeah.
You could probably still argue to have a spot for her in the God tier slot for 3 threats.
True. She gains 2 power a turn. She's 6 health on a healthy side. It's 2 power. All of her superpowers are 2 power. So if you need to, you can run up and throw somebody off an objective. So you guarantee knowing that's secure. You now add Dormammu leadership to her, and now she can get rid of her weakness, which means she can now run up, throw you off an objective, and interact with it with the some of the newer objectives. So just outstanding. Venom is absolutely meta.
Yeah, Venom's quite good.
Very good right now. Spider foes are going to very quickly come to the forefront. I think a lot of people, if you haven't played against it, need to play against Spider foes. Leader. Go ahead.
I think he's borderline viable.
No, I disagree. So he has the best web line pull in the game, which is range 4, doesn't require line of sight, push medium, which means he can then grab one of your characters and moves into the central area and feed it into the back line of the Spider foes where they just kill it. You can't mod your defense dice against him, which is outstanding for some of the characters in that top tier best list. His range 3 builder is 5 dice, which is massively above curve. He has a heal on his spender. He has a counter attack, which means he could potentially do a mid-turn daze in your turn, which always feels bad. And he has a huge 7 health on his healthy side. Yes, he has weak energy defense, but that's okay. That's fine. Viper is a specialist.
I don't even know what she does.
So she can teleport herself within 2 of her current positions. So she's got a self-teleport. She's a long mover or a medium mover. She can do turn 1 central objective plays, is essentially what she does.
Yeah, okay.
Under the right leadership, she can turn 1, steal a central objective, and still move away from it so she doesn't get killed. So something to look at. Vision, sadly, is viable. Still an outstanding 3 threat, but a 4 threat. But you know, just kind of falling behind the curve now. Needs a delivery platform at this point.
Some interesting play around Blade's leadership, like pay 1 power and reposition him, and then get your best beam off you can get.
Yep, 100%.
He's also got some clever stuff in that, not taking throw damage or not being able to be pushed. So
yes,
he's definitely viable. I wouldn't say he's meta though.
No, we'll see how he pans out with Midnight Suns. The fact that the Citizens extract is now restricted really hurt him, because he can gain 5 power a turn, you know, with his superpower, where he can just gain 2 power and he doesn't have a limit on it. So, that really hurt him as far as meta, where he sits, is concerned. War Machine, viable or meta? Yeah. He's great. Yeah. Guys, if you haven't played War Machine, he's excellent. He doesn't have much on his card, but he hits like an absolute truck, and he is pretty tanky. He's really great person to put in Sam Spam. He sits in as affiliation, ticks all the boxes, rock solid. Wasp?
I don't know where you'd slot her. Ant-Man is at least a damage dealing version of her.
She has the throws and stuff.
She's got the throw, but overall it's not amazing.
She is better than all those characters in the D tier though. I'll give her that.
So I'd probably put her in Specialist.
Yeah, you're bringing her in because she has some interesting shenanigans she can do with her sizes, and she has an excellent throw. She also has an attack that doesn't let you gain power equal to damage dealt, if my memory serves me correctly. So there's interesting things under that, but sadly, that's where she sits. Winter Soldier, boom, D. That's where he's going. That's where he's staying.
Sorry, Yigthulu. He just doesn't really feel like, compared to the 3 threaders that are out there and the other rogue agents, like Taskmaster. Unfortunately, Winter Soldier just falls by the wayside.
He does, sadly. There's nothing that he does that is better than anyone in these lists above. Just not that great, sadly. Wolverine, again, he does have a cool card with exceptional healing, so under that pretense, he goes into Specialist.
Yeah.
He's better than Sabretooth. He's tankier, he's got better healing, he's got decent attacks, but the fact that he can't interact with objective tokens on his flip side, although he does do more damage, is no good. But basically, just bringing him for X-Men leadership. I'm actually going to put him in D tier. I'm actually going to downgrade him. Because the X-Men leadership, the amount of people on that affiliation now means you don't need to bring him.
Yeah.
I can't even say that you're bringing him for affiliation bonus, because you're not. You're bringing in the other boys that are better. You got Jean Grey, Cable, all those guys. Wong, Wong is a specialist. You literally bring him for one reason. It's to sit on a back point and heal. He's interesting because there's a potential chance that he can be in the Midnight Suns leadership, which means under the Midnight Suns leadership, he can teleport off an objective, heal somebody, and move back, or he can remove conditions and things like that. So he has some interesting play there. Aside from that, he's boring in that his sole purpose in life is to sit back, stay on the home point, heal the boys and girls. That's all he's supposed to do.
The best thing is he's just cheap. He's 2-threat.
He's 2-threat. He's cheap. He's easy to use.
If he wasn't 2-threat, he'd be in the D tier.
100%. If he was 3-threat or more, he'd be in worse than D tier. I'd have to make another tier for him.
Yep.
Zemo, meta.
Meta, 100%.
Yeah, not quite best. No throws and things like that, but outstanding. Zemo as a Mordo target for additional dice is just savage because he can reroll all, and then he gets his own single Zemo reroll on top of it, so he's an absolute scalpel with the amount of damage he can dish out. He's excellent under Dormammu's leadership because he gives Dormammu rerolls. He gives start of the second turn, he can then do a charge with a Master Swordsman, so he can just dish out insane amounts of damage. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. You just bring in Zemo for the rerolls.
Yeah, he's got some. Yeah, overall, pretty much. Yeah, that's it. He's
Exactly.
got some good ability as well, but
That's it.
He's a very good pick in that section.
Well, that's it. That's the last one, I think. Let me just double check.
I think that's it.
That's
just
it.
to give an idea, what this tier list is guiding you towards is your roster creation and where you identify your pieces that you want to bring in. So when you're building your roster, you pick the theme you want to play or whatever affiliation that may be, and whether you want to play around secures or extracts or just smashing things into the ground, and then you can then use this tier list to identify the best or god tier or meta pick for those roles that you're trying to fill in your roster.
Yeah, make it as efficient as possible.
Yep.
That's essentially all you're going for. Always check the specialist tier, guys, because there might be somebody in that slot that can fulfill this really niche role for you, and typically your specialist characters in C will always be your number 9 or number 10 pick for your roster, so always check them because you might actually require to bring in one of them. And always look at Viable, because Viable is still a really good, there's characters in Viable like Mordo, Vision, Nebula, Luke Cage, Moon Knight, Ancient One that are really, really, really good and are just touching the edges of meta. So some small changes or just a really good player to figure something out with them, and they can easily be meta. So always check that. But aside from that, that's it from me. Anything else from you, Trav?
No, that's it. Good luck to guys. If you've got tournaments around the world that you're looking at doing, or you're just trying to smash your mate's face into the table at your casual game day.
That's usually what I'm going for.
Yeah, I know. But hopefully this meta list will help you, especially in the coming months, or the accelerated release schedule I feel like AMG's brought out. Hopefully this will help you with building your rosters and improving your gameplay.
Yep. You can even use it as almost like a buy list as well.
Yeah.
Don't buy Winter Soldier.
There's visions there, but
yeah, I know. That's it.
Yeah, but if you're unsure of what packs to purchase, this will give you a good idea what to purchase, because there is a lot of packs to purchase.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's 91 characters, guys. It took me a while to get all these pictures and get it all sorted, but it's a little bit longer than the last video. It's 91 characters currently, and we still have more that are going to be spoiled. So this tier list is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, comment down below if you're on YouTube. Let me know what you think, if you disagree or agree with me. But yeah, that's it. Peace out, guys. Take it easy.
Cheers, guys.